Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gabester here, back with some Hearthstone Arena, and today we're going to be playing, looks like Shaman. Haven't done that in a bit. So let's get right in the draft here. First pick we have a rare. Usually your first pick is rare, but it's always rare or higher quality at least. We have Priestess, which is an okay one-drop. It's better than a lot of one-drops, but still it dies very easily, so I avoid it usually because of the 1 damage, or 1 mana rather. I can't speak. Because of the 1 health. There we go. Abomination is sort of board clear, but very unreliable, so I'm going to go Mind Control Tech. It's a really good 3, and if you can play it late game, you might be able to take a minion as well. Okay. I think Berserker's the weakest of these. It's a decent 2-drop, but not great, because it can't trade up for 3s. Between the Venture Co. and the Unbound, usually the Venture Co. is more reliably strong, but I'm assuming that I'll get some overload mechanics, so I think I'll go with the Unbound, because it can be very powerful if you can follow it up with an overload or 2. Alright, I think Acolyte's the weakest here for a Shaman, just because I don't have an easy way to deal damage to this, so I'd have to use a Flame Tongue or some form of buff for the Acolyte to do something useful. So between the Worgen and the Fen Creeper, I think I'm going to go Fen Creeper. Worgen is fairly strong for a 1-drop, because in many cases it can trade up, but in the past, opponents would not play around that very well, but nowadays most people will play around it and they'll just avoid playing something that dies to it for free until the Worgen is dealt with. So often you just keep it stealthed for a long time, and half the time it dies to some miscellaneous board damage or something. Whereas Fen Creeper is just always a solid minion, and he trades pretty well since he has a lot of health. Anyway, wow. 3 cards that I think are quite bad. Wisp is terrible. Dust Devil is also terrible because of the overload. So even though it costs 1, it actually costs 3 mana in total. So in this case, I'll go Abusive Sergeant. Shaman and Paladin are probably some of the best classes to make use of Abusive Sergeant, along with Hunters, because they have minions on the board from their hero power. But still, 1 health minion is pretty weak. So Leper Gnome is pretty good if you're going really aggro, but I generally don't play that way. Between Wind Fury, the card, and Worgen, I'll go Worgen. I don't generally like the card Wind Fury. It's more of a combo type card that you can't really rely on in arenas. Okay, Worgen again, but Bomber versus Rockbiter. I'm going to go Bomber. Good 2-drop, and I need some 2s. Here we got some epic choices. Farsight is actually a pretty terrible card. The main problem with it is that you use the card to then draw another card, spending the 3 mana, and then the card you draw costs 3 less, right? So you don't save, you don't gain any card advantage, and you don't save any mana. All you generally hope to do is to draw something that costs so much mana that you wouldn't be able to play it for another few turns, but you can do so easily because of the reduced mana cost. But that's very unreliable and therefore pretty shitty. Doomsayer is also unreliable in arenas. You just can't hope that he survives long enough. So I'm going to go Earth Elemental. It's a really powerful minion, but it's also very susceptible to hard removal spells like Poly and Hex and all that stuff. But it's definitely the best of those choices. So here, this is a tough choice. I think the Ghoul is the weakest just because I have a fair number of 3s already. I don't have any 4s, but Windspeaker's not a good 4, it's a support card, and I don't have that many minions that the Wind Fury is useful on, really just the Earth Elemental. But Bloodlust, on the other hand, is also a dead card if I don't have board control. I should probably go Windspeaker. It's a tough call. Alright, Doctor's terrible, Farseer is also terrible, so we'll go Acolyte, even though it's not great on 3. It's better than those cards. Whoa, Legendary. That's awesome. All right, Mana Storm is definitely the worst of these. His stats for his mana cost, 4/4/4/2, don't justify the battle cry. The opponent can get massive advantage by playing free spells the following turn. So it's between Black Knight and Gruul. Black Knight is amazing, of course, if you can destroy a taunt, but you cannot always do so. Gruul, on the other hand, is amazing if he doesn't get hard removed. Even if he gets silenced, it's still a 7/7 for 8, which is not terrible. So, yeah, it's a tough call. I think I should go Gruul, though. Black Knight is sort of a card that could be dead in the hand if there isn't a taunt, but it gives you card advantage if there is one. Gruul is more of an in-game card that I'm just using to finish the match. So I think this is more useful based on what I've drafted so far than the Black Knight. Also, it's worth noting that Fire Elemental costs 6 mana, which is a prime 6 slot for Shamans, if we see any of those. Okay, so... Well, I think Squire is generally the weakest, although as a Shaman, if you have Flame Tongue, it can be quite a bit more powerful. I also do have one Abusive Sergeant, but that's unreliable. So I think Windspeaker or Panther is the choice. I already have one speaker, so I'm going to have to go Panther, just because too many speakers is excessive. Although I do have 2 big minions already, but I can only use the Windspeaker Battlecry once these are out and survive a turn, basically. Oh, that is so unfortunate. This is a set of 3 that I would like to just take all 3 of them. That'd be amazing. And then skip my next 2 draws or something. I mean, Farseer is a great 3, but it's probably the weakest here. Hex is amazing. It's really nice to have a couple of these in the deck for hard removal. But unfortunately, Fire Elemental is so powerful, I have to go with pretty much every one of these that I see, at least until I get a few. It's easily the most powerful common minion in the game. Okay, Totemic Might is terrible. Owl is basically just a form of silence, but that's it. So I think Frost Elemental is the best. He and Fire Elemental can have a party and see what the result is. The fire and ice. Alright, here we go. Elune is pretty weak. Acolyte we've seen, but Spellbreaker is the winner. It's a good 4-drop for a silence as well. Alright, 3 really good rares here. Oh man, I might be heavy on 3s. Violet Teacher is great if you have spells, especially. And even without spells, her stats are fine. She's a 3/5 for 4. Same as Ascension. And of course, if you have a couple spells, she's great. I don't have any spells, so halfway through after this pick. So her value goes down a bit. So I think it's between Kodo and Feral Spirit. Kodo is usually 2 for 1 as long as you destroy something, of course, when you play. Whereas Feral Spirit is very powerful early game to get a lot of presence on the board. Unfortunately, I have a lot of 3s already. So I think I have to go Kodo. Although, I don't have that many 2s, so the 3s might take up that. Yeah, okay, I'll go Feral. Alright, Orden's pretty weak. Lepronome again. Senjin is the winner. Really good 4. Boar is terrible. Priestess is fairly weak, so I'll go Berserker as a decent 2. Frostshock is terrible. 1 damage and freeze for 1 card. It's not worth it. Farseer is fine, but Stormforged Axe is the winner. Having 1 or even 2 of these is really powerful. 2 5s and a 6. So let's see what the curve's like. On 5, I have 2 5s. On 6, I have 2 6s. Generally, my 6s are better than my 5s, particularly because this is Overload. So it means when I play this, if I play it on 5, turn 6, I only have 3 mana anyway. So I think what that means is, well, although these are the 5s I'm choosing from, which are both pretty shitty. So I talked myself out of it. Even though I think 5 would be better for my curve, I think I need a better card, which is the Archmage. Alright, Alarmabot is weak. Be awesome if I played this and then Gruul got summoned on turn 4, but that's really unlikely. So between Arcane Golem and Feral Spirit, even though I already have Feral Spirits, they're far better than this card. So I'll grab another one. Earthshock is a decent form of silence for a Shaman against particular cards, but I already have one Spellbreaker, so I don't really need it. So Champion is the clear winner, really good late game minion for Shamans with the totems and stuff. Ooh. Ancestral Healing, you can sometimes get value out of it, but it's tough to do. I do have a fair number of big minions that may allow that, but I still don't think it's worth it generally. I think I will rather pick a Wind Fury here, so I have 2 forms of Wind Fury. One with Wind Speaker, one with this. Well, maybe now 3. Infiltrator versus Wind Speaker. Infiltrator would sort of do the work of a 2-drop in some cases. Although he's countered by the Bomber if that's one of my few 2s, which it is right now. So I guess I do go Wind Speaker. But that's really weak 4s. Right now my 4s are 2 Wind Speakers and a Spellbreaker with Ascension. But Fire Elemental makes up for it. Really strong. Grab that. Ooh, Flame Tongue or Raptor? I think Flame Tongue, because I have 2 Feral Spirits. Playing a Flame Tongue between these is amazing. So if you play this on 3, even if you didn't do anything on 2, following it up with this can be really powerful. Alright, I think I need the hard removal with Hex, even though I'd like another 2-drop. Berserker's not so good for a Shaman. Axe beats out these 2 crappier cards. Yeti is amazing. Harpy is weak. We've seen an Acolyte, of course. Another Hex or another Berserker. So let's see, on 2 I have 2 Axes, a Berserker, and a Bomber. So probably I should actually go Hex and just plan to either do a Totem on 2 or nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. Unless there's a reason to play nothing. But if worst case is I do a Totem on 2 and Feral Spirit on 3. Or one of the other mini 3s I have. So I think I'll go Hex number 2. And last pick is, looks like Violet Teacher over the Cobra, just because I could use a 4 rather than a 3. Yeah, I don't have that many spells, however, for the Violet Teacher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's it. Yeah, but still, she's a fine 4. Alright, well, overall, this deck looks fairly good, actually. It was a little worrisome early on. The one thing I'm a bit worried about still is my mid-game. My 4s, my 5s. I have a really good 5, of course, but half of my 4s are support cards. So if I don't draw into the 3 good 4s, that could be an issue. My 3s are very strong, of course. I have many options. I have 4 forms of Overload that I can use with the Unbound, 2 Hexes, 2 Fire Elementals, and really good late game minions. So the only major thing we're missing is early game removal. Lightning Bolts, particular, Rockbiter, lesser extent, basically. And board clear. Didn't get any Lightning Storms. But not necessary. I still think this deck is above average. So I'm going to say 8 wins, I think.
Thrall versus Malfurion.
Alright, game 1 against a Druid.
For Doomhammer.
So I need to be very careful in my mulligans here because I have so few 2s. I also should really try to get a... If I don't get a 2 and a 3, I should try to get a Feral Spirit in my opening hand. So I think I'll even drop the Worgen here. Because I should get a 3 based on the number I have. Okay, great. That's fine.
Greetings.
So the opponent's play will pretty much dictate my plays for a couple turns.
My greetings.
So I can axe that to break the shield, but then I'm overloaded. So I think the better play is to totem here. Because 3 out of 4 totems will survive this, and if he wants to kill it, force him to hero power in his turn. Which I doubt he'll do, but it's just a possibility. Otherwise, the totem probably survives. Oregon is surprisingly good against the Feral Spirit follow-up. He can use it to kill both the spirits. So in that case, I have to go Panther now. Because of the stealth, Panther almost certainly will be able to. Well, that worked out quite well for me. Broke his Divine Shield, didn't enrage his Panther, or his Worgen rather. So I'll take 4, unless he wants to kill that totem. And then I can kill the Worgen with my 4/1. Okay, he did take the totem out. That's probably the right move. Ah, shoot. I don't think I can justify the Flame Tongue right now. I can axe that, but then what else can I do? If I overload 1, next turn I have 4 mana again.
I wonder.
I guess that's okay.
Elements guide me.
It's a good totem to get. It threatens his 1/1. So he'll be obligated to hero power it, basically. Which means he should only have 2 free mana to spend this turn. Unless he wants to sacrifice his minion. Yeah, there's the hero power. Oh, that was his whole turn, too. That worked out great for me. Alright, I don't want to Flame Tongue right now since there's no real point. I can Feral Spirits. Next turn I'll have... No, I don't want to do that. I think I just want to Mind Control Tech here. So I don't overload. Because then on next turn I can play Mage for 6. Well, that's the one thing this deck is missing. I forgot. Not a Shaman card, but a Cult Master is very powerful. Or, well, can be anyway. So I think I have to Flame Tongue so that thing dies. This will go up to 5, of course, and then I hit it with my weapon. I could also use a Wind Fury, but that's not as strong on that thing. I sort of want a Feral. I'll just do another Axe, I guess. Because I'll be overloaded once. Yeah, Totem, Axe, Totem. That's fine. Since I'm attacking with my last Axe charge and he didn't ooze it, I'm just going to assume he doesn't have one. It seems like likely he would have played it already, so he'd have to draw into it.
what to do.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
Okay. I think I should Feral Spirit so this doesn't freely kill something. And because Feral Spirits will be summoned to the right here, it means this totem will block them from getting buffed. Well, although I say that, but what I was thinking is I'd want to buff one of these with the Flame Tongue so it threatens this, but the problem is he can just attack the other one anyway.
I wonder.
So I guess I really have no reason to use this to kill that. But I do think taunts are good. So I'll go 3, 2. Next turn I'll have 6 mana still if I ever get a chance to mage.
Little elements guide me. Job done.
Only I had Bloodlust. I only saw the one during the draft, but just couldn't afford it at the time.
I wonder.
It's a lot of taunts, though. Haven't seen any swipes. I expect he has one. But there hasn't been a prime opportunity. And even here, there isn't a prime opportunity, really. You would have to target it on one of these taunts. And use this to kill the other. And then hero power this. So he'd get, you know, half a card for a swipe.
For Najatar.
So I can kill this with, well, a lot of things, but this dies to this, weapon and totem, or weapon and this.
What to do? Are you ready for this?
Who are you?
But I think I'm just going to leave it. Because basically I want him to waste the 2 mana he used to kill that by healing it up. Which requires my totem to be alive, of course.
May my ancestors watch over me.
For the crusade!
Ooh. Sergeant Windfury. Gives me a lot of burst damage. So I could make that up to 8. So 16 from this. But the taunt
Wonder.
means total damage on the board. 2 of these have to hit that. So I only have 16, 17, 18 damage. So he's still alive by 5. So I should clear, basically.
I wonder.
I think Windfury on this is probably good, though.
Don't blink.
Well, maybe not. Take the damage there. Gruel's probably worth it. I'm save the sergeant for an attack, or a surprise attack, rather. Although I probably should have played him over here.
I'm not ready.
Ooh, spell power swipe's coming. Starfall. Oh, okay. It's not nearly as useful, but I do believe he lost.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
Well, there you go. So it's no bloodlust, but you know, Wind Fury's a good finisher if you can get those big minions. And like I said, I have a fair number of big-ish minions. Yeah, quite a few actually with Earth Elemental too. So that's probably going to be how I try to finish most games, but it will mean that I need to actually have board presence, arguably board control, which may be tough.